Game one of the Canadian Championships for CF Montreal. A loss versus Vaughan, Missouri would have been an absolute disaster, but no need to worry, CF Montreal fans. They were able to avoid that with a convincing 2-0 win. Their next opponent in the Canadian Championship will be none other than Toronto FC. We'll talk about the players who had a great game last night because there were a couple. We'll talk about any concerns, if any, and we'll also talk about a bright spot with CF Montreal for the second game now. Bryce Duke has a lot of people talking. Who better than to talk to his agent, Mario DiMarco of Supra Soccer Agency? He joins Jeremy Filosa, Gavino DiFalco, and myself right here on the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. CF Montreal Talk.
Here's the chance. Here's the chance. They've got the goal. Absolutely incredible. Cameron Porter delivers the goal to send Montreal Impact into the CONCACAF Champions League semi-final.
The sickest CF Montreal podcast. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk. I'll bring in Jeremy Filosa, Gavino DiFalco. Gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, Tony.
And joining us right off the bat, he's the agent for Bryce Duke, as well as many other footballers. He's based out of New York City. He joins us right now, Mario DiMarco of Supra Soccer Agency. Mario, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you, guys. It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me. Good afternoon.
You're very welcome. Talk to us about Bryce. I mean, we've had a chance to see him now for a couple of games. We were aware of who he was as well. We had seen him play before that with Inter Miami and prior to that with LAFC. But you and Bryce go back how long? And when was the first time you saw him play?
Well, Bryce and I go back a while now, 3+ years. I saw him first time when he was at Barca Academy in Arizona, shortly after he left the RSL Academy. And at that time, he was the number 8 for Barca Academy. He was doing quite well. And, of course, the result of that was not only his then subsequent signing with LAFC directly to an MLS contract, but also the interest that he received from Europe at that time. But, of course, Bryce, the way he is, he took on the challenge. He thought he was ready to get to that stage, to the MLS stage. And in my opinion, even if he did have about 400 minutes in those 2 years with LAFC, which we all know is loaded with talent, right? I think every time he was on the field back then, he rose to the occasion. And that subsequently then brought to his transfer to Inter Miami and where we are now.
Before we get to Jeremy, Bryce was part of that Barca residency program out of Arizona, like you said, or out of Salt Lake, pardon me. It's one of the most renowned academies in North America. I'm up there with the best of them, if not the best. They have a reputation for the players that they have in that academy to be very, very technically sound. Is that the strength of Bryce's game? What would you say out of all the characteristics that he has? Would it be his technical? Would it be his relationship with the ball, his vision? What can you tell us?
I would say it's definitely his technical ability, his creativity in tight spaces, and his vision. He has a very high IQ, and I'm sure you guys have seen within the last couple of games, we've seen a little glimpse of that.
Jeremy?
Yeah, Mario, thanks for taking the time. First of all, I had a chance to speak with Bryce this week after the training session on Monday. Asked him a few questions. And, when I asked him about, Montreal and the springboard that it's been for other players that have wanted to make the jump to Europe, he said, he knows about that. And he said, hopefully I can get going here and, make the jump to Europe as fast as possible. Now, obviously, the ones of us who follow the team closely understand that that's part of the game plan. But is there any hope that he maybe sticks around for a few years and we have a chance to enjoy him? Or is the plan to move on, right at the end of this season if he does well?
No, look, everything is possible. Of course, the intricacies of the domestic market and the international market are quite vast, and certain pieces need to come in to play before a transfer is executed, right? So anything is possible, really. But again, he's the type that takes it day by day. He's very committed, very determined, a true professional, really. So I wouldn't worry about that at this point in time. He's ready for this challenge. He's excited about this challenge. He loves his teammates. You know, he just got there. I believe it's now 1 week exactly since he got there, and he's only had positive things to say. So he's going to take it day by day. We'll see what happens. Of course, based on his performances last season where he led Inter Miami in assists, and now coming into this team, which is young, hungry, and I think once he starts getting acclimated to his teammates and vice versa, his teammates start getting acclimated to him, we'll start seeing this club and this team click as well.
Mario, I got a two-part question. First of all, what was your reaction when you found that your client was traded to Montreal? And second question, have you had the chance to speak with the technical director Olivier Renard so far with Montreal? Thank you.
Sure. So to answer your first question, my first reaction, well, of course, in a domestic league where transfers can happen all the time, right? There was a bit of shock. But at the same time, this was a team that was on the radar and has been for some time. It has been in the rumor mill that Montreal was interested in Bryce for some time. So the team itself did not surprise me at all. No. When it comes to speaking to the staff, I had the pleasure of speaking with Vasily Kremanzidis, mostly, and with the logistical staff, the backroom staff. Olivier, I have not yet spoken to him, but I look forward to seeing him and to speaking to him soon once I'm up in Montreal.
Mario, some fans will look at Bryce from the outside because they don't know the inside. You do. We're going to try and discover it now from you. So from the outside, they say, wow, young player, a lot of potential. It's very interesting. Other fans will say, young player who's now on his third club. Maybe there's warning bells. Maybe there's a red flag here. But you from the inside can probably tell us differently. Why would a young player who has a lot of potential, we hear that from everyone, a lot of promise, we hear that from everyone, who had extended his contract recently with Inter Miami, will now be on his third club? Enlighten us, please, if you can.
Sure. But at the same time, I believe, and look, those I guess those opinions are kind of justified when you look at the track record of players at this young age being already at their third club. But at the same time, it's also, I believe, proof that the player does have a market at this young age. Let's not forget the amount that Montreal put on the table in order to get Bryce. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, based on the value that Miami got back, it's only second to Paul Arriola when he was traded from DC United to Dallas, right? Of course, there's future considerations. There's Lasser that was part of the deal. Kamal Miller went back. But when you look at the totality of the transfer, this was a very high price that they put on the table. And it was just simply too hard for Inter Miami in the situation they're in currently with the league penalties and whatnot, dating back a couple of years. It was simply too hard to refuse. I'm sure that if anyone has, I'm not sure if they have already interviewed Phil Neville or Chris Henderson on this, I'm sure it was very hard for them to let go of him because he was one of their favorites this year. Because of their injury with their captain, Gregor, he was kind of obligated to play him out of position in more of a 6/8 role. But this is a player that simply last year when they picked up Pozzuelo, everyone thought, okay, so Bryce is back on the bench, right? Because he had been their starting 10. But after Pozzuelo came in, he kind of obligated them to switch formation to play with a 4-3-1-2 where they had to play him as an 8 along with Pozzuelo. And that's what really brought Inter Miami into the playoffs, if you look at it, because their last string of games was with Bryce and Pozzuelo on the field. And I'm sure that's what Montreal saw as well, and many other teams.
Yeah, but Mario, we had Michelle Kaufman last week on the show. She's a beat reporter with the Miami Herald, and she confirmed to us that most definitely Duke's natural position is as a 10. Although he played as an 8 in the past, as you mentioned a few times since the beginning of the podcast. Can you confirm? Because this is the spot that Montreal needs to fill.
He is a natural 10. He is a natural 10. He's very versatile. Again, he can play as an 8. He can play as a 6. Look, he's only played 5 games in that position. I believe if he would have continued in that position, you would have seen sort of, and again, I'm throwing out names, sort of like a Barella / Verratti hybrid would have came out of that. And he's certainly intelligent enough to pick up that position fairly quickly. And he did quite well. He did his job. But naturally, he is a 10 / at a minimum 8.
Mario, obviously, right now, Montreal is the worst team in the MLS. They are having a lot of problems scoring goals and everything. I want to know at the end of the year, what's an agent's looking for? Statistics, goals, assists, minute played. How much that this part of the question, the player gets more values on the transfer market? Is it only statistics? What the agent's looking for?
Do you mean in terms of what am I looking for in order to be satisfied of a player's season?
Yes, please.
Well, when it comes to that, of course, goals and assists, that, those speak very loudly when it comes to looking at a player profile and look how much they've contributed offensively or even defensively in the case of a defenseman or a goalie, for example. But I think we're well past that nowadays. I think teams and agents have the software available to them where it's not only marked by goals and assists, it's more so as to, and there's a bunch of them, but for example, there's XG, there's XA, contribution that goes along with goals and assists. So for example, if a player has a subpar season where maybe has 2 goals, 3 assists, if you look in detail through data and video, you'll see that player probably should have had 5 goals and 10 assists if maybe the shot was clearer or his teammates would have put away an opportunity that he created for them.
Yeah. Plus, games played, games started, passes completed, crosses completed. What I found interesting here is that the number 10 had not been assigned to any player before Bryce's arrival. And he grabs that number 10, and it comes with a lot of responsibility because, of course, it's the most infamous number in the history of football. Here in Montreal, Nacho Piatti wore number 10. Nacho Piatti is, was one of the top 5 players in the league when he was with Montreal. You as his agent, and it's always nice to have a player who wears number 10 because it attracts a lot of people, but it comes with that responsibility and maybe comes with a little bit of added pressure. Did it concern you when you saw him at all with the number 10? Did you say, oh, geez, Bryce, that's a nice number, but it comes with responsibility? Talk to me about that.
He does not feel the pressure. Bryce does not feel the pressure. He embraces it. This is a player that, like I said, back to when he was in LAFC, there were certain games where, there was international duty or there was injuries. And on that week, they would go up against, at that time, a first-place team or second-place team, and he'd have to play Bryce, right, because of the players missing. And I, as an agent, or it would be similar to the feeling of a parent where you feel that pressure of a player being put in that position every single time. And again, even in Inter Miami, high-stakes games, he does not feel it. He embraces it. He rises to the occasion. And that's what you're going to be seeing.
Mario, CF Montreal cannot play with a back line of 4 because they don't have a natural left back. They haven't filled that spot yet. Do you have one in your stable of clients? Just curious.
Well, look, I always have players, apart from being a direct representative of footballers within North America, we also operate as primary intermediaries for many European agencies. And as MLS is growing and also USL is growing, you'll see many European agents trying to get into the American market. And so in order to do that, the way they begin is with the middleman. And we would be that middleman at this current time.
Mario, last question for me. It's sort of piggybacking on Gavino's question is, when you look at a team like Montreal who struggles so bad to score goals, and now, Romel Kyoto's out, and we don't have any other proven strikers that can put the ball at the back of the net, does that concern you as an agent? Because your client may be doing everything that he needs to do in order to produce and get those numbers that you want to see. But if there's nobody around them to help him, that may hurt his value.
No, I'm not concerned about that. Again, I think the people that are in this field see what they need to see, regardless of the result. And I also have faith, and I believe fans should have faith in the executive staff at this club, because again, I mean, last year was a year where one of the best clubs in the league went on to sell 3 players to Europe, I think for a record total fee for all 3 package. And I'm sure if they did it once, they'll do it again. They'll be able to put together the pieces in order to have this team perform.
After 2 games, we see that the Bryce is making an impact on the pitch already. Montreal is more threatened in the final third. When's the last time you spoke to Bryce, Mario?
I speak to Bryce every day, especially now with the logistics behind this move and whatnot. There's a lot that goes into it, but I speak to every client every day. At this point, we have more of a family relationship more than professional.
So was he satisfied about this performance last Saturday and yesterday again in the Canadian Championship?
Bryce was happy, but Bryce is one that is never satisfied. He always strives to do better, always. Even if he has a perfect performance, he'll find that little thing he needs to work on.
Mario, thank you so much for taking the time and telling us a little bit more about Bryce, so we have more information at our fingertips today than we had a week ago. I can tell you the fans are really liking him already. We look forward to seeing you in Montreal. When will this take place? When will you visit our lovely city?
I was actually speaking to my partner earlier this morning. We'll see. Maybe in the next month for sure we'll be up.
Well, please give us a ring if you can, because it's not an arancini from Sicily and it's not a cannoli from Sicily, but in the Marinaro household, we do try our best. I can tell you that right now.
I appreciate it, Tony. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. All right, there you have it. Mario DiMarco of Supra Soccer Agency. All right, guys, what do you think?
Listen, I think it's a good pickup. I think on the long term, this guy's going to end up working out. I don't see why it wouldn't. The one thing that I just think people understand is that Bryce Duke at 22 years old cannot come in here and save this club right now. Yeah. You understand? I think we're going to see nice things, but I think it's going to be more on the long term.
But he's not advertised as the savior, Jeremy. He's advertised as someone who's going to come in and someone who will help contribute, right?
Yeah. The timing of the trade may lead some people to think that the club thinks that this is a quick fix, but it's not a quick fix.
For my part, guys, I'm satisfied because already Bryce is one of the best player on the pitch, and it didn't take him like 3 months to get acclimated. So he gets the ball, and something's happening. So a very good pickup for CF Montreal right now.
What I like about it is that you know who your 10 is right now. He's in pole position. And he's going to get a lot of starts. And now it'll take even less pressure off of a Sean Rea, who can probably play where I think he could be best, which is, at a wing position. I know that he played wing back last night, and he played very, very good. I still think as a winger, he could probably be at his best. All right. Okay. So now let's talk about that game last night, guys. A CF Montreal team that had Ketterer in goal, a 3-man back line of 3 center backs, with Camacho Corbo to his right and Thorkelson on his left. In front of the back line, you had the Zouir and Chouanière, Rea, right wing back, Iliadis, left wing back, and Bryce Duke in behind Lassiter and Sunusi Ibrahim, who played up top. Your thoughts on the starting lineup, guys?
Listen, I was a little bit surprised because the coach told us on Monday that this was not a game he was going to use to make a rotation. He wanted to keep the regulars to try and go get some cohesion. At the end of the day, I think there were 5 or 6 changes if we compare to Saturday's game. But I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm okay with the fact that different players get minutes in these types of games. Listen, I'm going to be careful with what I say, okay? I think everybody's happy with the fact that they won a game, that they scored 2 goals. But, the first thing the coach said after the game is, We needed to score more goals, and I think he's right, guys. There are still a lot of things that need to be worked on, and I didn't find that Montreal was dominating enough considering the opposition they had in front of them. A lot of still mistakes when players are not under pressure, which bothers me a lot. That either means that they're stressed out or they don't have the confidence to make the simple play. I don't know what it is. I'm also, worried about the offense. Guy like Chinonzo 04 who shows
Jeremy,
up.
they were unlucky too, though, last night. I mean, that game could have easily finished 5-1. Don't you think?
No, I don't know. I don't think so. I think Chinonzo 04 missed one or two good chances. And again, you need that poise in front of the net to say, I got a split second here. Where am I shooting this ball? Am I just shooting it at the net and hoping it goes in? Or am I aiming for my spots to make sure I do put it in? I'm still worried about certain of the things, even the cohesion yesterday. Even though they dominated the ball possession, they dominated 25 shots on net, 11 on target. But, I don't think the confidence they went to get in this game is going to be sufficient to fix the problems they really have on the field when they play MLS teams.
Me, I'm just happy that the left-footed players, they played on the left, and the right-footed players, they played on the right. So we saw more cohesion from Eliadis, who is a natural left-footed. So he delivered some key passes and also key crosses. Same thing with Ketterer. He looked good, but at the same time, guys, it's only 2-0. And Vaughan had a couple of chances in the first 15 minutes. I was looking at the game first 15 minutes, and I was saying, am I dreaming? Is it the MLS against amateur players? So I don't know. I don't know if it's that enough. A lot of players, they were smiling. The coach was smiling, but at the end of the day, guys, against the Red Bulls, it won't be easy Saturday. And
but
Torkel still look good.
I think you guys are a little bit strong today. Let me explain why, okay? Guys, Olfer missed a chance that he definitely should have buried. Eliadis hit a post, and they should have had a penalty shot. I mean, at the very least. And the keeper made a fantastic save off of Sean Rea controlling off the chest. And
I think the last goal, I don't think the last goal is offside. There was no VAR, but I think the last goal should have counted. So it could have been 3-0.
This could have easily been a 5-1 game if Vaughan scores their goal early on, which, by the way, it's a bad first touch. Even at that, I still think the player that had the opportunity should have scored that goal.
Yeah,
here's some of the things that worry me.
Ketterer doesn't come out, and I don't know why he's staying on his line there, but
there's something positive this morning, guys. I think the chemistry between Rea and Duke is established, is going to grow week in, week out. That's the only major, I think, positive thing that we can look at the game yesterday, because Montreal is having so much problem in the middle of the pitch since Kone left and Mihailovic left and Torres left. We all know the answer, but yesterday there was a little bit of bright.
Sean Rea, best player on the pitch last night, guys. He probably, with a little bit of luck, he probably could have had 3 goals in that game. Yeah. And, it's not his job really to be a goal scorer. It is his job to contribute to the offense, of course. But when you think of goal scorers, you think of strikers, and he's not one. But Sean Rea yesterday at the wing back position, very good. In behind the strikers, very good, very dangerous, very hungry, wanted to make the difference in that game. And look, got to be a dream come true for him, guys. From the East, from I think from the East End originally, but now in Laval. Raised, a fan of the Montreal Impact, of course, signs a homegrown with his hometown team. And yesterday he scores his first goal in a CF Montreal uniform in a of course, a pro game and not a friendly or whatever. But man, what a good feeling for him. He really played really good last night. Very, very proud of his performance.
Saw the reaction on the goal when he went to celebrate with Zouir. And, there's another player that's been developed by the academy. There are 2 good friends that have played together for a long, long time. And we saw that special moment when they jump in each other's arms. That's beautiful to see that, obviously. Is it gonna be a moment, a spark that's gonna allow him to keep producing game in and game out from now on? I don't know. But a lot of his family members were in the stands yesterday. They were able to enjoy that moment. So hey, listen, you haven't had too many of them, so that was one of the nice ones this year.
Look, I'm going to say this. I read what a lot of people wrote on social media. A lot of people were telling me that were saying that CF Montreal was going to lose. I mean, I had a buddy of mine who called me who said CF Montreal is going to lose. I said, he says, you want to bet? I said, no, they won't. I said, you want to bet it? He says to me, I said, yeah, I'll bet you whatever you want, but save your money. Like CF Montreal is going to win. There's no doubt about it. Look, this is a team. You have to put things in perspective, okay? The Vaughan Azzurri, their coach last year when they won League One was Patrice Geyser. He's been that club's technical director for a very, very long time. They lost their coach, who went on to be the coach of the Halifax Wanderers of the CPL, all right? When he left, he brought defender Riley Ferrazzo with him, his best defender. He brought his best forwards with him, Cosi Afonso and Massimo Ferin. These players scored, I think, a total of like 36 or 39 goals last year. And he brought another young forward / winger, Stuart Baines, signed him to a development contract. So he brought 4 excellent players to Halifax. So they lost their coach. They lost 4 excellent players. And they were in game 2 of game 2. They played their game 1 last weekend versus Toronto Nitros. They tied 2-2. So they're a couple of games in versus another team, CF Montreal, that's 7 games in, had a camp in which they had 5 or 6 games and had a camp that went on for a couple of months. And you saw, too, from a fitness standpoint, at one point, they were just out of gas, Vaughan.
Yeah, but still, I mean, they come out of there with a 2-0 loss, and they're thinking to themselves, hey, it's not that bad. And, on paper, Montreal dominated the game. But I mean,
but there was a couple of players interesting from Vaughan, especially that player Rose, who took a couple of times the ball in the center of the pitch, too much time and space, and he took some good shots, but he missed the target. But I mean, there was a couple of interesting players, some veteran players that I think could help Montreal right now. But that's for another topic here.
I think right now with the preseason games, with the MLS games, and now yesterday with an ultimate opportunity to give other guys some minutes, I think the club has enough information to realize that there are certain guys right now, and I'm saying right now, that are not of MLS caliber. And I think we've seen enough to know that they're not going to be able to contribute on this team. And we have just a few more.
I think that's a fair statement, because there's a couple of players yesterday that did not distinguish themselves very well versus a League One side. And if you're not going to be able to do it versus them, you're not going to be able to do it. Here's where I'll agree with you guys. I agree with that statement, Jeremy, and I'll say another statement. There was no problem last night. I don't look at the score line. I don't think it was ever really in doubt. But if they would have played an MLS team last night, it wouldn't have been good enough for a win. They would have lost last night.
They would have lost.
I think we realized that yesterday, by looking at the same problems, no cohesion, no chemistry between players. I'm not saying that Montreal is going to lose all his games this year, but guys, I think we're the best. We're the worst team in the MLS, and it's going to be a tough year for the organization. Not enough talent, not enough proven MLS players, and it's going to be a very, very tough season.
Yeah,
I'm happy they won for many reasons, guys, because that stadium was not overly packed last night. And so a win will maybe inspire more people to get out. I understand it was Vaughan Azzurri. They were playing a League One team and they weren't playing another MLS team. But
guys, I said it from the beginning, okay? With this philosophy that they have of buying and selling young players, okay, and not having any stars on the field, you are doomed to winning. And this I said a million times over the last year. If you win, fans are going to sit back and wait. If you have a good team, middle of the year or whatever it is, they're going to start filling up the stadium till the end. If you don't have a good team, you're going to be in trouble. I mean, I understand it was Vaughan last night. I understand it wasn't overly warm last night in Montreal, but, on StubHub, you could buy a ticket for $9 last night. That's what I saw before the game. I had never gotten so many messages in so many years of people telling me, I want to give away my tickets. Do you know anybody that wants to go? And that is not a good sign.
Yeah.
And this is the reality, okay? The reality is if you don't win and you're trying to play this money ball type system, you're going to suffer a lot when you're not going to be winning.
And it won't get easier in the next round. You're going to face Toronto Football Club, who are not losing a lot of games this year in the MLS. They're tying a lot of games, but especially they had a lot of players in the disabled list. Bernadeschi, you're going to face Bernadeschi. You're going to face Insigne, who is coming off the disabled
Yeah.
list. Also, Diamond Day maybe is near. His health is growing and growing. So Richie Larea, all those players that won't get easier in the next round in the Canadian Championship. And my question is, if you lose your next 2-3 games in the MLS, are you trying to turn around the season and to concentrate only in the Canadian Championship? That's a question that I'm asking right now.
All right, so I'm going to show you something, Jeremy, stemming off of what you said. Okay, if we can see that text message yesterday, I received at 4:52 p.m. Okay, now it is 2 hours and 8 minutes before the start of the game. By the time the game probably starts, it's probably 7:05, 7:06. So it's probably about 2 hours and 15 minutes before the game. All right, okay. Do you see that? Okay, let's see if you see that. Hey, Tony, I got 4 tickets for the soccer game tonight for free. Do you know of anyone who wants to go? Good tickets. Hi, Joe. Hope you're well. I'm okay. Girlfriend of mine trying to give these tickets away. I write back, are they paper tickets or can be transferred by phone? Transferred by phone. I can send out a few text messages to see if any of my friends want to go. He says, okay, they can call my friend directly. He put an attachment of the tickets. They were pretty good seats. I sent out some text messages. I placed some phone calls. He sent out some text messages. He placed some phone calls. 2 hours and 15 minutes before the game, couldn't find a taker. 4 tickets.
Tony, if I'm telling you that I saw, dozens and dozens of messages like that on Twitter, on Facebook, in my personal messages, I could pull them off for you. And this is not a good sign, guys. Yesterday, my son, somebody called me and said, I have tickets. Does your son want to go? I asked him, do you want to go to the game tonight? Nah.
Yeah.
Well,
at the same time, guys, temperature, game on a Tuesday night. Some teenagers, they go to school tomorrow, the day after. People work and everything. It's freezing. The club is not very good. So, you mix.
This is why I say, if you have a couple of star players on the field, those tickets are sold in January. So you don't care because they're sold, and no matter what the weather is, whatever, maybe some people don't show up to the game, whatever it is. But those tickets are sold. Most of the people that have buy tickets show up for them. And this is, when you're stuck selling tickets on game day, it's a problem. And it's not a problem that's going to go away, guys, with the way that they want to do business, unfortunately. So it's going to be the same thing every year. People are going to wait till midway through the season. If they see they're in a race, they're doing okay, they'll go. If not, they'll stay home. And that's not the ideal way to do business as a sports franchise.
Hopefully a big convincing win on Saturday, and that'll motivate more people to go out and watch the game. But you're right, because last year when they were on a roll, their last 7 games at Stade Saputo were completely sold out. Why? They were a winning team. They finished second in the East and third in the league.
But Tony, that's not what you want to do. You don't want to wait till midway through the season. You don't want to wait until you sell 10, 15,000 walk-up tickets. That's not the way you want to operate as a major league franchise. And by the way, the window of transfer closes on Sunday. So we have 5 more days in hopes that the team can do something else to maybe pick up one player or two that can help us get over the hump from now till the next transfer window in the summer.
Hey, that grass had a tough winter, eh? That grass is
again, this is the reality of having a major league franchise in Canada. Okay, unfortunately, we have the toughest climate in all of the MLS. Unfortunately, our installations are completely at the other end of the chart, meaning they're the least luxurious, or you know what I'm saying? The reality is they couldn't get the water to start running until Thursday, 2 days before the game. Okay, they were this close to a complete catastrophe. Normally, they don't play at home in April till the 3rd week of April. And they usually let the MLS know we don't want to play at Saputo Stadium before at least the 3rd week of the season. This year, the MLS said, tough, you're going to play in the 2nd week of April. at home. So we came this close to a disaster, not being able to water the grass, probably other situations also inside the stadium where you need running water. Guys, you know, the installation need to be upgraded. We can't live like this year in and year out. And the MLS is no longer going to do them, you know, the favor that they did for them in the past to accommodate.
And we saw a major difference last weekend because Jeremy and I were in Austin for Apple TV, and it was amazing. A perfect pitch, you know, perfect stadium. I know the temperature is awesome. You don't want to compare Montreal with the other cities down south, but guys, we got to improve at all levels, especially. You know, you don't want to put $100 million on the stadium. Just put a heated pitch. And we'll start from now, because right now it's not looking good for, you know, visually the grass was having a hard time.
Yeah. That's what the grass is always greener on the other side. Eh? That's what they say. All right. Okay. Sean Ray at the 31st minute. It was Ibrahim at the 35th. It was 2-0 CF Montreal win. Practice will continue the rest of the week, and we'll be back on Friday to talk about the week that was and also preview CF Montreal versus the New York Red Bulls. They go on Saturday night. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's absolutely free. It's a Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk. And subscribe to our Twitter handle at SickPod, CFMTL. For Gavino Di Falco waving his Quebec flag and Jeremy Filosa wearing a toque. It's even cold in his house, I guess, not only at the stadium, and he still hasn't let go of the Expos. God love him. I'm Marinaro. It is the Sick Podcast.
Take care.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast, CF Montreal Talk on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.